Welcome back, everybody. We are here with Main Stage Wrestling on WERW Real College Radio right here at Syracuse University. And it's been a while since Main Stage Wrestling has been on the air, has it not, Tiger?
Oh, it certainly has. And today we come to you live with a special Valentine's Day episode.
Yes, indeed we do. It's special. It's very Valentine's-esque. We have a lava lamp right in front of us. The mood is set, and it's quite romantic, if I do say so myself.
Oh, absolutely.
It's getting me in the mood, man. It really, truly is. But it's a new year. It's a new decade, even, for Main Stage. It's pretty wild stuff. And it's been over 3 months now since we were last here in this studio, speaking live to the masses.
Absolutely. A new era, if you will.
I will. A new era, absolutely, Tiger. And Sam couldn't make it, as we sort of mentioned in the sort of epilogue to this episode.
Oh, yes.
Do epilogues come before or after?
Epilogue comes after prologue.
Oh no, a prologue then is what I meant. I'm not on my game today. I'm so sorry. But a lot has happened in the many months that we've not been live here on WERW, man.
Certainly.
A whole lot has happened because, like I said, almost a quarter of the year has gone by in the world of professional wrestling. So I figured it'd be best if I can just very quickly run down some of the biggest headlines that have occurred in this very weird world of pro wrestling since we've been gone. Okay, yes. Great. So what I have listed as our highlights are, first off, the entire Fiend and Daniel Bryan feud is come and gone, right? We've seen AEW defeating NXT consecutively week after week after week in the just incredibly contentious ratings war, you know?
Yes.
Just so brutal. No one can be fans of wrestling as a whole, you know?
Yeah.
You have to pick a side.
Oh, absolutely.
And you can't be fans of everything, you
This
know?
is war.
It is.
Raw is war.
Well, so are Wednesday nights.
So is NXT?
You can't be a fan of more than one show.
That's
is
right,
my
that's
rule
right.
when
Yes,
it comes to
absolutely,
wrestling.
yes.
And then, so too, we've seen Survivor Series come and go. There was the rise of Keith Lee, who had an amazing confrontation with Roman Reigns there. And then
later on, Brock Lesnar in the Royal Rumble.
Yes, indeed. He did. A big boy, I believe, is what Brock exclaimed at the sight of one Keith Lee. And then we also saw that Royal Rumble match where Drew McIntyre became the victor, going on to face Brock at WrestleMania in a couple months. And also at that Royal Rumble, wanna tell me what happened, man? What was the biggest headline coming out of the Royal Rumble? I watched it with you. You looked so blank and confused.
On this day,
You see clearly?
I see clearly.
That's incredible.
My God.
And so do I. The return of Edge after a long 9 years away from professional wrestling. The rated R superstar Edge returned. And that was even while we were here during the semester of school, you know?
Yeah.
It takes a while for the studio to get back up and running. And even when it does get back up and running, things happen, like your microphone falling apart 1 minute into your recording, you know?
Yes.
It's crazy stuff. So just so much has happened in professional wrestling. That's been the past 3 months, and I think we should maybe stick to the tradition, the usual format of Main Stage, and how about we get on to the top 5 news stories of the week here in Pro Wrestling, Tiger?
Great. Can't wait.
Great.
All right, what's
Great?
the news? What is the news?
What is the news?
Yeah.
First off, my first news story, it's a bit old at this point because it goes back to Monday. It goes back to the beginning of Monday Night Raw, and the show is on a Saturday. But that's the nature of Main Stage, you know? But I think it's very big in that we saw the ambush of Becky Lynch by one Shayna Baszler. So, Raw opened up this week with a weird segment involving the Monday Night Messiah and AOP and Buddy Murphy versus all the big boys, you know, the Viking Raiders and Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe, which I have to be honest, the feud between those 8 guys, I couldn't care less about, you know?
Because they had like more than 8 matches so far?
No, I didn't care from the beginning, but even now the duration of it too is catching up to me, so it's just, I don't care about that whatsoever. So I was very relieved when Becky Lynch came out to interrupt all of them and just send them to the back, you know, and just take over the show, hijack it for herself. And instead what we saw was a match between the Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch and the woman who just lost to her at the Royal Rumble, Asuka.
Oh, yeah.
This was a rematch from that pay-per-view, and the match was pretty good. I enjoyed it, and I definitely think it was a better, more entertaining match than what we saw at the Rumble, which maybe that could just be fatigue from a pay-per-view that goes like 4 or 5 hours, you know?
That could be true.
Whereas this was just in the first 20 minutes of Raw.
Yes.
But I really enjoyed the match. And then afterwards, after Becky was victorious, retaining her title, we saw the attack from the former NXT Women's Champion, Shayna Baszler. And these two have had, I believe, a confrontation before, back in October of last year when NXT was doing their whole invasion.
Royal Rumble?
Not
Oh,
even
sorry,
the Royal
excuse
Rumble.
me, it's Survivor Series.
For Survivor
That's
Series,
right.
yeah. It's when the Saudi Arabia plane wouldn't take off, so NXT had to take over. Fun stuff, right? Right? So Shayna is finally making her return to take on Becky Lynch all these months later. And what she does is, instead of her usual sort of bare knuckle style, where she, in her MMA style, where she goes and she chokes out people and she's just this badass, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's still pretty badass, but a different kind of badass. What Shayna decided to do with Becky when she attacked her in her big surprise re-debut or whatever is she dug her teeth into the back of Becky Lynch's neck and like ripped a chunk out of her flesh.
Yes.
Yes.
Very PG TV.
Very PG TV and also very sensical within the context of her character.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I mean, some of the greatest martial artists have bitten, their opponents before. So, who are we to judge what Shayna does with her opponents?
That's true. That's true. I guess I'm in no place to judge per se. And I'm not necessarily judging. I just want to know what's inspired this change in attitude, because the Shayna Baszler we saw in NXT wasn't ripping chunks of flesh out of people, you know?
Well, that was before she discovered the Twilight movie series, of course, over the weekend. Before she debuted on Raw.
I see. So she just took so much inspiration from that, and
Yes.
she's now determined to become a vampire.
Well, also, it could be that Edge is coming back, and she went back and watched some of those great Gangrel Edge Christian matches.
Yeah.
And
No, that would make sense.
That could be true, yeah.
Yeah. Their incredible promo work as well.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Yep. So, yeah, it was very strange, and I guess Shayna is a vampire now, and I'm not so, weirded out by how over the top it is, because it's pro wrestling. It's a very exaggerated and slightly silly form of entertainment, if I do say so myself, right? So I'm not freaked out like, oh, it was too unrealistic. That's dumb. Wrestling's unrealistic. Just don't watch.
Yeah.
But I would like to understand it better within why she did it, what that motivation is, which it's wrestling. It goes week to week. I'm sure we'll get an explanation at some point.
Well, do you feel like Shayna's character when she was on NXT was getting stale?
Not necessarily. She was a dominant champion, and I think by the time her reign ended, it was supposed to end. I think it was on the cusp of getting there, but I think they timed it pretty well to where she did all she could do in NXT.
Certainly.
For the most part, and now
Yes.
she's just made this career shift to the main roster, I assume, and it's a way to keep her fresh and introduce her to a new audience, and I think it was the time.
Okay.
Do you feel that she became stale?
Well, not necessarily. I was just wondering if that was the idea from the main roster management, and that might be why they requested her to do this.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Not necessarily like a vampire angle as we've been talking about, but more of a rebranding to make her seem more threatening for a wider audience.
Ooh, I see. Did you hear that clicking sound?
Oh yeah, that was really weird.
Something just happened, and I don't know what it is. The studio is so strange. I don't know. I can't be bothered. But
yes.
But that was the main sort of story I felt coming out of Raw, was that we have this that clicking is going to drive me insane. We had this debut of Shayna, and she is now, in fact, a real life vampire.
There's a 33 and 1/3 chance
What
that
is
might be
that?
true. I cannot hear it because I don't have headphones on.
It's true. Oh, it stopped. Okay, good. I
great.
solved all our problems. So
Awesome.
I was trying to figure out how we could play the rads that we're required to by WERW Real College Radio
Oh, okay.
right here as our breaks go on throughout the show.
Yes.
Because their computer is just...
We're going to have so many breaks during this show.
We're going to have 0 breaks during the show, Tiger,
no.
because I can't play music.
Oh, no.
You know?
Okay.
So we're going to make up for that time we lost at the beginning of the episode by just going through all our news stories. You
Absolutely.
know, forget the rads.
That's right.
Forget the rads. So let's move on to our second news story of the week, also involving a women's division and, to an extent, a women's championship. and that would be that we have a brand new and only the second ever AEW Women's Champion, Tiger.
Absolutely.
And that women comes in the form of one Nyla Rose, who took on Riho this past Wednesday on Dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a match that sort of came out of nowhere, especially considering that we have Revolution coming up in just a few weeks, right? So to have a championship match just randomly on one of the episodes on the build up to your pay-per-view, especially when pay-per-views are so far and few between with AEW.
Yeah.
We, like, on the last episode of Main Stage that we recorded over 3 months ago, right before we went on our winter break.
Yeah.
That was right after their first and only pay-per-view so far, which was Revolution, right?
Yeah.
Not Revolution. Full Gear.
Full Gear. Yeah.
Full Gear. And now here we are all these months later, and we still haven't had a single other one. It's just been Dynamite and AEW Dark, right?
Which
and
has been great, to be honest.
Yeah, it really has. But when you have all that time to build up to a big match, and you just don't, it's a bit confusing. Like, why not just spend a few more weeks on Nyla and Riho and hold off until Revolution?
I always thought that Nyla should have been the first champion. Riho should have been the underdog challenger up to Full Gear was what I always thought that it should have been. But, that was just subjective.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think you've only been proven right in the time since then, because there's no way the path that we've actually gone down, how we've actually seen things unfold, is what they intended for Riho at all. Because she's this tiny girl. Like, I doubt she breaks 100 pounds, right?
No,
and
yeah.
Like, she's supposed to be this dominant world champ for some reason, and she also doesn't show up, so you get people calling her the Brock Lesnar of AEW.
Well, technically, she has displayed a different sort of style of wrestling where it focuses on roll-ups and technical reversals, which has been pretty great. And I think they're trying to establish that that's like her own unique style that's being able to help her level her playing field with stronger opponents.
Okay, so you think this was all calculated by them?
Not necessarily, but it was definitely their effort to push Riho as somebody who's very legitimate in that particular style.
I gotcha.
Yeah,
I gotcha. I guess that makes sense to an extent, but just when you're AEW is a newer product, right?
Yeah,
These are new characters for the most part.
Yeah,
and for a lot of introducing new characters is going to be based off of just like what brand new eyes are going to see when you first see a person, right?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know who Riho was before AEW.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to sort of put this all together in my head, like, this is the character of this small Japanese girl that looks like she would never, ever in a million years be an athlete, right?
Yeah.
Here she is, a dominant champion who's very technically skilled and gifted and all this stuff. Like, that's not what I got from watching TV every week. Plus, It's really weird to me, too, that she's been going to most every Dynamite show, every single Dynamite taping, and they haven't been using her every week either. Like, she's your world champion, and you barely have her on television. So, I don't know if that's part of the reason, too, that they switched over to Nyla, is that she's a character you can have on TV more frequently and have be more dominant and just win every week.
I mean, she certainly has more presence than Riho in terms of, because I mean, obviously Riho is very could be a very sympathetic babyface, but she obviously have problems cutting promos, and also they just simply isn't giving her enough room to be a character.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been hard for Riho, to be honest. This championship reign has honestly, I think, is a bit of a wasted potential. Could have been great if she was going up against Nyla Rose or even Awesome Khan.
Yeah. I wondered too if that was part of the reason that we did see Nyla get the championship, because now we know that Awesome Kong isn't really with the company anymore as an active wrestler. Because we saw how the Nightmare Collective disbanded over the past couple weeks, and a large part of that, I guess, was just due to Awesome Kong not being, I don't know if it's physically fit enough to perform regularly. Like, her body just isn't allowing her to wrestle at the level that she used to. So I don't know if it's like a temporary thing where she's going away or she's actually retiring from wrestling. But I wonder if the fact that now there's only one big girl in the women's division, like there's one person who can be the dominant beast of the entire division, as I just said.
Yeah,
I wonder if that factors into her being champion, because now you don't have to worry like, well, why isn't it Awesome Kong? Like, why aren't you having the two of them fight right now?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that factors into it, but it could. It could. So the only complaint I have with Nyla is that goddamn finishing move of hers. You know what I'm talking about?
A power bomb?
No, not a power bomb. Power bombs are fine. Power bombs are beautiful. Okay?
Okay.
As we'll get to later in this show, with our match of the week. Power bombs are beautiful.
Okay.
Her finisher is where she hangs you up on the rope, right? Where she lifts her opponent up and she has like half their body inside the ring and half their body outside the ring, balancing on top of the top rope. And the opponent sort of has to like maintain their balance and just hang there in this really unnatural position where any human would just, of course, just fall because how gravity works, right? But they have to awkwardly hold themselves in this position, hanging over the ropes, while Nyla has to climb up to the top rope, compose herself on the top turnbuckle, and then drop down with a knee on top of the back of their neck. And it's the most unnatural and silly looking move. Like, it looks cool when she executes it, but the setup is just so,
But it isn't wrestling has always been expanding on our suspension of disbeliefs.
It has, but
I mean, lariats in the past haven't been able to turn people inside out, but we see it all the time on the indie scene, and now we expect a strong-looking lariat to spin the other person at least 360 degrees. And in the past we didn't have like 450s.
I think there's a difference there though,
Oh,
because
okay.
you're not saying that like everyone needs to spin 450 degrees when they get hit with a lariat now.
No.
It's just a thing that we can see and we can accept as being true, right?
Yes.
But in the case of hanging someone by the rope like that, you would have to assume that every time someone's on the top rope, they have to maintain their balance perfectly because that's how physics have adjusted over the years, Does that make sense? Because there are certain body types that physically cannot do 450s, right?
Yeah.
Every single body should theoretically be able to balance on a rope. So I don't know. That's
Okay.
very,
No,
very. I'm getting into the weeds there, but
Okay.
but I think it looks silly.
Okay.
I think it looks silly, but then there's all the outrage. I don't know if there's real outrage about it, but there are people freaking out online that there's a transgender world champion. Which, in any other sport, is there a legitimate gripe there? Sure, maybe, right? Because there are just genetic differences between men and women, right? Biologically.
Sure.
But in wrestling, again, with the whole
Yeah.
suspension of disbelief, Rey Mysterio beat the Big Show.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's just it's all sports entertainment. It's such a weird gripe to have.
Are you not entertained? It's a real question.
That is the real
We should
question.
ask, yes.
That is, and that's what we have to ask ourselves every week in this wild world of professional wrestling. And Tiger, I need to ask you: do you think you're going to be entertained in a couple of Thursdays from now when we go to Saudi Arabia for our third news story of the week, and that is the card so far for Super Showdown 2020?
Wow.
Wow, indeed. So we're getting, I don't even know what number it is at this point, but whatever number in this series of shows, and maybe 4, but whatever number in this series of shows that WWE is doing in conjunction with Saudi Arabia as part of their like 2030 Saudi vision, whatever. And that it's really strange where it's placed, because all these Saudi Arabia shows are always built up to be they're as big as WrestleMania, if not bigger, right? And they pull out all the stops. Like, you see them getting all these massive people to return because of how much money the government gives them to fund these shows. And so
Financially, sure.
yeah.
But reputation-wise, no?
No, like, generally you're right. They don't necessarily line up with WWE canon even. Like,
yeah,
they sort of just happen and we don't really acknowledge it much after they happen. Right? So that's fair, but it just seems so strange to place it so quickly before WrestleMania. No, because we only do have a couple months until April 6th.
No, certainly,
right?
Yeah.
And we already have this massive show where I guess they're not giving away their biggest matches. Like, let's run down the card so far, actually.
Yeah.
So I'm going in order of how I view it from just the most notable matches announced so far. We have Baron Corbin versus Roman Reigns, which I would have preferred that be over at the Royal Rumble like every other wrestling fan, right? And it's just, to talk about it has been done to death, but it seemed like a place for the feud to wrap up. They've been going on for, like 4 months now? It's just, I'm a bit tired of it. It feels like the feud should be over by now. I don't get why it's not. So they're going to have maybe their blow-off at WrestleMania. Sorry, not WrestleMania. At Super Showdown. I hope so.
Hopefully.
Then We also have Bayley versus either Naomi or Carmella, depending on how their match goes next week on SmackDown.
Okay.
And that should be interesting too. Right now, that's the only women's match for WrestleMania I can't nail down. Because on the Raw side of things, I'm pretty certain it's Shayna versus Becky, right?
Yeah.
NXT side of things, pretty certain it's Rhea versus Charlotte, right?
Mm-hmm.
On SmackDown, I can't tell if they're going to do like a multi-woman thing, like maybe like a 6-woman or a 8-woman, whatever, like they did before in Florida where Naomi originally won the SmackDown title.
Okay.
Or maybe a triple threat with Bayley, Carmella, and Naomi. Or what I think is probably least likely is just a one-on-one between Bayley and Naomi. Because you already have 2 others single matches for women.
Yeah.
Where it just seems like the SmackDown Women's title generally gets slotted into that position where this is our multi-woman match.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the one I can't nail down. So I'm guessing at Super Showdown, it'll probably be Carmella that fights Bayley again. And then Naomi's feud will pick up with her going into WrestleMania. I don't really know.
Right.
I can't call it. But after that, we have a big 6-man gauntlet match for the, let me check my notes, the Tuwaiq Trophy. It's the first time ever, you know?
Okay.
But the winner of the Tuwaiq Trophy will be crowned at Super Showdown, and I, quite frankly, can't wait. Because the potential men to win this glorious, glorious prize, Tiger, include the likes of AJ Styles, Andrade Cien Almas, Bobby Lashley, Rowan, R-Truth, and Rusev. So just star-studded, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if there's much to say about that match, so we can move on to what's next on the card, and that would be for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Probably the match I'm most excited for, or, I mean, these next 3 matches that have been announced, the final 3 that I haven't gotten to yet, I'm pretty excited for, honestly, which is more than I can say for any of the prior Saudi Arabia shows. So we have the New Day versus The Miz and John Morrison.
Wow.
For the SmackDown tag titles. And maybe I just care because I'm so incredibly biased towards Miz and Morrison.
Well, yeah.
But I want to get your perspective, Tiger. How are you feeling about this?
I love it.
You love it?
I do.
Why do you love it?
Because I love to hear that you're really getting excited about it.
About a Saudi Arabia show or wrestling in general?
About Miz.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, every time you talk words of love about the Miz,
yes,
it brings joy to my heart to see a person really, to
be so in love with another man.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, yes,
because that's what it's an infatuation at the end of the day.
It's an obsession. Even
it really is.
It could potentially change to the stalker angle.
It could
if
eventually.
It goes wrong. Yes.
Down the line, it goes wrong.
If it goes right.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
I think so. So I'm excited for the match. They've had an entertaining build-up. They sort of ignored it this week on SmackDown, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they didn't have the New Day appear at all, and they just sort of had Miz and Morrison lose to Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns.
I would have liked this more if Morrison didn't get killed by Brock Lesnar in a Rumble. Because I feel like maybe if people don't really watch the regular TV, like, a Morrison performance, the Rumble, could have elevated this match. Because both The Miz and John Morrison was killed really quickly
got dumped out
in the Rumble.
To be fair, their opponents also did. Kofi and Big E were also eliminated by Brock.
Right.
Yeah, so I guess theoretically they're on an even playing ground, but it doesn't make you look like a star.
Yeah, no, but it's just relegated to, tag team level, which is considered to be lower by WWE standards.
I mean, with John Morrison, he's definitely world champion material outside of WWE, but within the realm of SmackDown and Raw, I don't know. I don't see him as a world champion type.
I think John Morrison is a real straight shooter. Listen,
I see.
This ain't no make believe.
It isn't.
It's not.
No.
So very serious gimmick.
True.
For a very serious man.
No, that's true. That's true. So I can't wait
could lead to greatness down the line.
Maybe so. Well, greatness may also be in the future for the young man that is Ricochet.
Wow.
As he goes up against the Universal Champion in a championship matchup against Brock Lesnar, Tiger.
What are the chances for a babyface Drew versus heel Ricochet?
Oh, that would be beautiful. I'd love that. I really would. But I mean, this past Monday, Ricochet's match with Bobby Lashley got me pretty excited, honestly, about the match coming up with Lesnar, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then also in the back of my head, I sort of just know that it's going to be a squash match too. Because you know that Brock has these amazing matches with smaller guys, right?
Yeah.
We've seen it time after time again. But we have the opportunity with Ricochet here, and I don't think they're going to do it. I think it's like a bait and switch. We're going to show up to Saudi Arabia, and this will be our obligatory, like, 5-second match.
Oh, poor Ricochet.
I know.
But, like, even though Brock has great matches with, like, smaller sized dudes, like, Balor's storyline on the main roster basically went nowhere after he was defeated by Brock.
Yeah, it's not to say that the stories are incredible masterclasses.
And
but
AJ Styles hasn't been doing much.
No, but their match has been like years ago at this point.
Well,
you know?
yeah.
And AJ was also world champion at the time.
Well, that's true, yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. I don't know. But Finn, I mean, they're on to bigger and better things, you know? Like, AJ has the chance to win the Two-Wake Trophy in a couple Thursdays. So, really, who's the loser here? The Universal Champion or a man who has a shot at that incredible prize?
Us watching that gauntlet match.
Oh. Then our main event, presumably, of Super Showdown is probably the only Goldberg match I could ever find myself excited for in 2020, aside from Matt Riddle. And that would be him, Bill Goldberg, going up against The Fiend. Also, I just realized I was wrong that whole time. I was referring to Brock as the Universal Champion. He's the WWE Champion.
That's right.
Silly me. The Fiend is Universal Champion.
That's right.
And I don't know if it's a title match or not, but he's going up against Bill Goldberg at Super Showdown in a match that has been built by like phone interviews on SmackDown with both Bill Goldberg and Hulk Hogan, which...
Well, to be honest, I'm not that excited about this match.
I mean, I'm not excited about it because like it has this incredible story going into it. I'm just excited in the sense that it'll be weird. It'll be exciting.
It will probably be weird, but like at the end, would you be interested in a match that is, probably not going to be a clean finish? Probably it's going to be not be a good contest. Probably it's going to be finish, and it's going to end in 30 seconds.
Or it could just be The Fiend murdering Bill Goldberg, which I would be happy with.
I'll be happy with it too, but I don't think that's like what most likely what happened is Bill Goldberg will come in and hit spear,
jackhammer win.
Not necessarily, and probably maybe the Fiend will like kick out at one for the spears.
We're going to Mania with the main event of John Cena versus Goldberg. Okay, for the Universal Championship. This is clearly what's happening. So that's official. That's a spoiler. You know, I don't make predictions, but this is about the time, because that was our third news story. This is about the time where I'd cut to a rad and fulfill our obligations to WERW Real College Radio. But I can't do that, so let's just pretend like we did, and we are back here with Main Stage Wrestling right here on WERW Real College Radio. I am Jacy Cola, and I am joined by...
The Great Tiger Man.
The Great Tiger Man, indeed. And we still have some more news stories to get to that happened this week in the world of professional wrestling, Tiger. And so, let's get into that fourth story, and that is the fact that there have been two major signings that have happened in two different companies in pro wrestling in the past 7 days. So, first off, we go over to Wednesday Night Dynamite, where we saw that Chris Jericho announced he has officially hired a killer, an assassin. I don't remember the exact wordage he used, but he basically has this hitman that exists in the form of one Jeff Cobb, who he is bringing into AEW to take on Jon Moxley next week on Dynamite.
Well, that could be a great match.
It really could. Didn't they fight in the G1?
I don't remember somehow.
Okay. Well, regardless of whether or not they did, they are fighting this coming Wednesday because Jeff Cobb has joined Chris Jericho's Inner Circle on the build-up to AEW's Revolution. And it's been a long time since I saw Jeff Cobb in any television show. Because believe it or not, I do not watch Ring of Honor week to week.
Oh,
you know? I know. It's a shame. It's a real shame of me.
Yes, absolutely.
But I was really excited because Jeff Cobb is just one of my favorite guys that isn't signed to a major company right now. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he is makes me excited because now I get to see him every week, which is it's just nice. I don't know if I'm huge on seeing him as a bad guy without the Matanza gear, you know, because he's just like a naturally likable dude, you know? And he just speaks and he acts and he has the sort of demeanor of a nice guy. Mm-hmm. But so it'll be interesting to see how he fares in the Inner Circle, you know?
it'd be a new character for Jeff Cobb.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then quickly we can mention too the second big signing in pro wrestling, and that is that Dwayne The Rock Johnson's daughter, Simone Johnson, I believe is her name, has been signed to the WWE Performance Center on a full-time contract, you know?
Wow. Okay.
So I don't know when we can expect to see her ever, like on NXT television or Raw or SmackDown. But she's, I think, younger than us, actually.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
About either our age or younger. And so now she's there full time, and she's just going to be preparing to become a wrestler. And those are some big shoes to fill and some heavy expectations, but she's taking that upon herself. So good on her, you know? That's a massive weight to put on your own shoulders voluntarily, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but hopefully she does well. We don't know yet. It'll be a while till we find out.
Well,
but
we've seen that the daughters of past greats have been doing great for themselves. To be honest,
Yeah.
I mean Charlotte Flair, has been doing great.
yeah,
and,
Rachel Ellering,
Rachel,
Tessa Blanchard,
absolutely.
Cough, and
Kiera Hogan.
yes, of course, yes. So, yeah, those two new signings are pretty exciting, but I think it's about time we move into our final story, which will probably take up a good bit of time, and we're going to have to rush through it, unfortunately. So, actually, you know what I think I'm going to do, Tiger?
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
you do know.
I don't know.
Oh, but you said
please,
yeah.
Please tell me.
Oh,
No,
okay,
no,
I'll
I just
tell you.
want you to tell.
I'll tell you,
me. Yeah,
because
there you
tomorrow night there's some music playing. Why is Shayna Baszler's theme playing? Okay. Tomorrow night is the big NXT Takeover Portland event, which we've been building up to for a while now, every Wednesday night on NXT.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the first Takeover show, I think, too, that's taking place on a Sunday night. Normally, when we do these shows and we do these main stages, when Takeover's going on, it's coming up later in the day. So we
Yeah.
get to run down the card and be super excited.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have a little gap in between. You know, we have some time to digest and think about what we're about to see tomorrow night with
Yeah.
NXT TakeOver Portland. So
Mhm.
I think we should run down the card really quickly.
Okay.
And just maybe get both our predictions about each match.
All
How
right.
about that?
Just quick results, no reasoning.
Quick results.
Okay.
Well, we can tiny reasoning.
Okay, tiny
you know?
reasoning, all
quick
right.
quick reasoning.
Okay.
So first off, we have Keith Lee versus Dominic Dijakovic in a North American Championship match.
Keith Lee.
Keith Lee, indeed.
All right.
I can't see
I mean-
Dominic winning, you know?
Oh, yes.
The only circumstance I can see him winning is if he drops to Dominic and then he goes on to fight for the NXT title. You know?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
but
like,
that's
the only
not
circumstance.
very.
It's contingent on a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
So next up on the card, we have Dakota Kai versus Tegan Nox in a street fight, which honestly I'm surprised made the card when Velveteen Dream versus Roderick Strong has been relegated to the Wednesday after for NXT.
Wow, okay.
You know?
Mhm.
Yeah, this massive match where Velveteen's wearing Roddy's kid and his wife's face on his pants. It put away Velveteen with an injury for months and months. This very personal and heated feud is getting put on TV instead of the pay-per-view, which is fine. I'm sure it'll be a great match.
The Tegan Nox Dakota Kai is also very personal and has been going on for a while. There's
is.
a lot of time relegated on the TV shows to Dakota Kai just being a completely changed person.
Yeah, that's fair.
on
And I'm a
NXT.
massive Dakota Kai fan. So this is a match I'm super excited to see.
Yes.
I just wish they didn't do that match a couple weeks ago on NXT where it was Dakota versus Tegan Nox, where Dakota lost.
Oh.
So it feels like you take a bit of the wind out of this match.
Okay. Well, I would still say that Dakota's winning.
Yeah,
Because
I say Dakota wins as well.
her booking's been really weird where like she has been when she was a babyface all she did was lose and then
Yes.
when she changed to a heel she also lost
Yes, she
to
has.
I think to both Mia Yim and also Tegan Nox.
Mhm.
So I don't know what they're trying to do with
She
her.
needs to win right now, or else
Yeah.
I don't really know what
on
happens
a
to her.
major show
Yeah,
she needs to win.
I hope
Yes.
so. And the next
you go.
match we have is a just regular singles match, a grudge match between Finn Balor and Johnny Gargano. And my pick here is just Finn Balor. Who do you got?
My pick here is Roderick Strong and Velveteen Dream should have been in this spot.
I think you're right. I mean, I like Finn. I'm not huge on Johnny, but like I want Finn to do well and I want him to succeed, but his style doesn't line up with modern day NXT as well as I thought it would. If that makes sense. Like he has
Yeah.
learned to wrestle in that main event slower pace where it's not what you want out of NXT per se.
But that's actually his style has always been like that. To be
Yeah,
honest.
I mean,
Yeah. So I mean, like I love Finn Also, I think Johnny is probably like one of the best wrestlers in terms of a work rate.
Mm-hmm.
And also how well he does stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like selling is pretty great. Not like necessarily like carried over, like not really like continuous, like continuity wise, not necessarily that great. But like in terms of dramatizing everything, he's been great.
Yeah.
But
so who do you have? Did you already say? Or did I miss you?
but somehow no.
Okay.
But somehow still, I don't really care much for this match.
Yeah. No. Nor
It
do
will
I.
probably be a great match.
Yes. With the victor being. I think it has to be Finn Balor.
Yeah,
just because Finn's brand new to NXT sort of again, and to have him lose right now would just be really weird.
But
Johnny can recover. Johnny's like one of the biggest stars in the company. He'll be fine.
But then he win against Matt Riddle already.
Yeah.
So maybe he'll lose against Johnny Gargano.
I mean, I guess so. I hope not. I don't like Johnny. I really don't like Johnny.
But wouldn't it be weird if you've been like establishing Johnny as somebody who's like best of the best, and then somebody comes down from the main roster and just beats him?
Yeah, well, someone who comes down from the main roster is the most accomplished NXT champion of all time. But we have to move on to the last three matches on the show because we still have our match of the week to get to.
Yeah, keep going. Please.
So we have the Undisputed Era versus the Broserweights, and I this was a tough one for me to think of, but I think I have the Undisputed Era taking the victory only because I want to see the Broserweights in a one-on-one match at the Mania Takeover
against each other.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like Undisputed Era's storyline has been kind of stagnating, so maybe they're gonna try and give it to somebody else now.
Really? Okay.
That's
Maybe.
just how I feel.
Okay,
Because,
yeah,
like
that's
single wise, like Adam Cole's storyline being progressing. Like obviously Roddy lost the championship to Keith.
We gotta move on. Move on. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
But yeah. That was a match I was 50-50 on, so I can see it going that way. But then we have Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair. Quick pick.
Rhea Ripley?
Rhea Ripley,
yeah,
indeed.
That's right.
They could do it, like, you know how I was mentioning the triple threat stuff earlier for the SmackDown Women's Championship?
Yeah.
They could theoretically do it for NXT, including Bianca Belair. I just don't see that happening.
I mean, I want that to happen, especially after how Bianca was in the Rumble,
Yeah.
Right,
like, it would make sense, but I don't think they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I would prefer to see that over Carmella, Naomi, and Bayley.
That's true. That's true.
And then our final match, presumably the main event, is not Johnny Gargano. Screw him. We have Tommaso Ciampa taking on the NXT champion Adam Cole in a one-on-one singles match. This was another one I was split on. I really couldn't tell what direction it's going to go down, and I have a justification for both. But my pick is Tommaso Ciampa.
What's your justification?
For Ciampa, it's just that what else does Cole have to do as champ? What else does he have to do? What other star can he face to beat him aside from Keith Lee? So, my stipulation here is that if Keith Lee loses to Dijak earlier in the night, my pick will change to where Cole keeps the title, right? If Keith Lee keeps his title against Dijak, though, I have a feeling Ciampa's going to win. Because, like, what other star has to face Adam Cole? What other person has a chance of beating him?
Here's the weird thing: is like if Keith loses and then still wants to face Ciampa, then it's a weird thing where like Keith almost seems like the heel. Ciampa's like the most heel.
Exactly. That's why I don't think that's gonna happen.
Okay.
Yeah,
right. So maybe it's maybe you're right. Yeah, I think you're right.
You think Ciampa's gonna win, or do you think
like
Cole's gonna win? I know it's tough, man. It's real tough.
Well, has there been a resolution between Keith Lee and Adam Cole in storyline wise? Because they've been having frictions with each other, right?
Yeah.
He powerbombed Adam Cole. Keith powerbombed Adam Cole, and there's been no ending to that story.
The last involvement between him and Adam Cole was when he was feuding with the Undisputed Era, and he took the title from Roderick Strong. That was the last time they interacted. Because then he got muddied down with Dijak and Damian Priest.
Right.
I hate to say muddied down, because I'm very excited for that match. But
okay.
So
we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, like that match and the Broserweight one, it really goes either way. I can't tell. I really can't. And I think if there's one match where they want to trick everyone tonight or tomorrow night, it's going to be Belair winning, and then they'll just do the triple threat at Mania. So that is that takeover card for tomorrow night. I'm very excited for it. And we would be taking another break right here as we move on from our news stories into the match of the week this week, but we can't do that, so We're back here on WERW Real College Radio.
are.
I'm Jacy Cola. I'm joined by Tiger. Hi, Tiger.
Hello.
And we watched the match this past week, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
We
certainly
watched
did.
a wrestling
we watched
match.
it a while ago, to be honest. But
It was a while ago. So every week on this show, we randomly generate one of the most infamous or most praised matches in the history of professional wrestling for us to talk about, run down, and analyze on this show. And the match that we randomly generated just a week ago was from Battle of Los Angeles 2017 Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, a contest between Donovan, Dijak, and Keith Lee. And I promise this was not rigged, you know? Because we're seeing that match tomorrow night.
yeah, certainly.
You know?
Yeah. To be honest, we did it a week ago.
We
this
did.
was not.
Still, we knew that match was happening a week ago.
Do we?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's very weird timing. But we ended up getting Keith Lee versus Donovan Dijak in what was rated a 5-star match by Dave Meltzer back in September of 2017 in the second round of the Battle of Los Angeles tournament, and what was really the last Battle of Los Angeles that people cared about. You know,
Wow.
It was the one that Ricochet won his second BOLA win with. And after that, people just stopped caring because everyone on the indies got eaten up by every other company.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
You know? Like, I'm aware who won the year after, but I didn't watch it.
Like 15, 16 was,
Yeah,
17
yeah.
to extent.
So I think 17 was, like, right before things fell off. But in terms of just indie wrestling in general, it was a massive time for big boys on the independent scene.
Absolutely.
Everyone was high on big
Jeff,
boys
Cobb.
going hard in the squared circle.
Absolutely,
You know,
yes.
so this match was exactly that. It was what was his name then? Donovan Dijak, now Dominic Dijakovic.
Which is a worse name by comparison.
How dare you?
I'm sorry.
The 6'7", 270-pound man going against the now North American NXT champion, and that of Keith Lee, who is 6'2" and 320 pounds. So just two massive men fighting in just the second round of this incredible tournament.
Would you call this house fight involved?
I would call it that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Whatever reference was there was lost on me. But in the first round of this tournament, Tiger, we saw Dijak take on Trevor Lee, also now an NXT star, and that of Cameron Grimes. And they went for about 11 minutes, and Dijak picked up the victory. And then also, we saw Walter versus Keith Lee in the first round, where Keith Lee went on to face Dijak. So now here we are. It's night 2, and just also the night prior to this, Keith Lee and Dijak actually teamed up for one night only to form the Monstars.
That's right.
As they took on the Chosen Bros.
Which would be an important plot line in this match later on.
It's so weird that all these guys we talked about already, just in the context of WWE and AEW. You know? Like Jeff Cobb, Matt Riddle, Dijak. It's crazy. It's crazy. But this was a big deal at the time because it's Battle of Los Angeles, one of the biggest indie shows of the year. And we get a 5-star match rated by Dave Meltzer, like the most acclaimed wrestling journalist, right? And it's not the usual suspects. Like, it's not a Kenny Omega match. It's not a New Japan match. It's two big men who've never had a rated 5-star match before.
He was there live, right?
Yeah, Dave Meltzer was there live.
Right.
And he gave these two guys that rating, which was just a really big deal. And at the time, they were like two of my favorite dudes on the indies because of Wrestle Circus, you know?
Yes.
So let's get into the actual match itself. How about we?
Yeah.
I'm asking for your permission, Tiger.
Please do.
Please do. So you're asking for my permission now.
I'm asking if you would please continue
And
with the match.
will please continue with the match because on commentary for this contest, we saw Excalibur and sexy Chucky T getting together and putting their words in the microphones and broadcasting live for this match. And it's weird too because now both those guys are also in a big company on national television.
Yes.
It's really weird.
Doing commentary.
Yes, indeed. Well, not Chucky. Is Chucky doing commentary? I wish he was.
Oh.
I think he did it on Dark one time, so it counts.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the beginning of this match, we don't get the intros because it's PWG and they cut them out because they want to make money.
Well, to be honest, we saw a clip of Donovan Dijak in the lower half of a Darth Vader mask.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And
That is barely fitting on his massive face.
that's absolutely right. So Now, what I think I'm going to do, just because we don't have that much time left in the episode, right?
All right.
I am going to do a quick run-by of the entire match, right? A rundown of the entire match, and then we're going to analyze it, okay?
All right, quick.
Okay.
Let's go.
So, this is my play-by-play.
Yeah, all right.
So, first off, we start off with the two men very confident in the ring during their match announcements. When the ring announcer is announcing their names, they're sizing each other up, and they have the crowd on. Most of the crowd is behind Keith Lee. You know, they're singing his Bask in His Glory chant.
Yes.
And there are some with the Feast Their Eyes chants for Donovan Dijak, you know, but there's a clear favorite in that of Keith Lee.
But then later on it turns into a Monstars chant.
That's right.
All right.
But the two are sizing each other up for almost a minute before they actually tie up for the first time. And for the first few minutes of the match, it's very confrontational and very showman-like.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And honestly, it's a fairly slow pace, but it's exciting stuff. It's slow, but it's very impactful and exciting. And it's back and forth, counter after counter. And at one point, Lee actually lands on his feet after a monkey flip from Dijak.
That's right.
And I feel like that's like when the crowd first started to get real into it because they were just impressed by that athleticism.
Yep.
And just a lot of the impressive agility from both men that are almost 300 pounds each.
That's right. On that note, I want to say that at first there was a spot where Dijak kicks Keith Lee, and Keith Lee catches his foot, and then Keith Lee flips Dijak backwards.
Yeah.
I thought that spot was meant for Dijak to actually land on his feet, and he didn't.
Well, that was also a theme of this match where there's a lot of evasion from Dijak, right? Because I think a lot of it was the fact that Keith Lee is this very powerful man, right?
Certainly,
he's just, out of the two, he's just stronger. Pound for pound, he's a more powerful man.
Yeah.
And that's saying a lot when you're in there with Dijak,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
But despite that, he's not able to hit his offense as much because Dijak is super lanky and evasive compared to Lee.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is him sort of outsmarting and evading the strength of Lee. And a lot of times during the evasion, I don't know if it's intentional or not, but Dijak does, he fumbles a couple landings, you know?
Yes,
Or,
yes,
it seems like he's supposed to stick it, but he just topples over at the last second. Even if it's not intentional, even if they were mistakes on his behalf, they worked into the story.
It does well to sell Keith Lee's strength.
It does.
Yes.
It really does. So, like I said, there was that slower pace initially, but they're doing these really incredible athletic feats, right? And then it sort of picks up when Keith Lee clotheslines Dijak to the apron, and Dijak kicks a fan on accident.
Yeah.
And so then Keith Lee's distracted. He goes to check on the fan, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And then in the middle of this, Dijak ends up using it as a distraction, and he lifts up Keith Lee and choke slams him on the apron, right?
Yeah.
So this is the first really impactful move of the match. And so, like I said, it's more a story of Lee being powerful, but Dijak is able to hit more just because he's that much more quick and evasive.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the spots are rough around the edges too, because they are big men doing really impressive stuff. So they're not the prettiest moves and they're not the prettiest executions.
At some point, somebody was caught in a tope.
Yeah.
Was it Dijak that caught Keith Lee
I think so, yeah.
in a tope con hero?
Also, there was a Fosbury flop at one point by Lee too, where
Dijak.
Dijak did the Fosbury flop, right?
Yes.
And he collided with Lee, but Lee stood standing, he didn't fall down.
Yeah.
And then he darted Dijak head first into the steel post.
That's right. Yeah. That
Then
happened.
Lee got into the ring. Then he did the tope con hello, where he jumps over the top rope and flips over, right? And doing that, he lands on his feet. Like you said,
he did,
which is ridiculous.
Yep.
This 300-pound man lands on his feet, jumping to the outside of the ring. And so, like I said before, Dijak is trying to stick all his landings, and they don't always pay off. And some of the spots, too, like the problem I had with Nyla Rose, they take a while to set up, right?
Yeah, there was a corner spot, I think, where Dijak was supposed to have a Keith Lee on fireman's carry on the top rope, and that took a while to happen.
Yeah, it did. But also at one point when they were on the top rope and it was taking a while,
right?
They did sort of play it into the match where I think Dijak was able to take advantage and not let Lee get the actually execute the move,
right,
you know?
Yeah, okay.
And so I know there are people waiting outside the studio right now, so let's run through the rest of this match. So,
no cell heaven.
No cell heaven indeed. And at one point too, I think when the crowd really kicked in, the full gear by the end.
Oh, full gear.
Full gear, yes.
Okay.
Dijak did a springboard corkscrew crossbody to the outside.
Yes.
Into the crowd.
Yes.
Because Keith Lee was surrounded by fans.
Yeah.
And then Dijak does this wild move on top of him. And that got everyone into it. Then we go back into the ring. Keith Lee escapes a choke breaker, which Chucky T pointed out was a very stupid move to hit on such a big man.
Yeah.
Then there's a spirit bomb from Keith Lee, one of his finishing moves. Dijak pops right back out of it, does a super kick to Lee's face right in the jaw, and he runs to the corner for a moonsault. Does Dijak. He hits it. He pins Keith Lee.
For one. That's right.
Keith Lee sits out of the pinfall, holding onto Dijak, stands up, and hits the fireman carry power slam. and goes for the pin, and there was a kick out from Dijak. And so then Keith Lee manages to climb up to the top rope for his own moonsault, and then Dijak kicks out of that at a 1 count.
That's
so
right.
it's just
to be
no
honest,
sell after no sell.
It was a 1 count, but then Dijak sold it really well. Like, he was legitimate. Like, it wasn't, he didn't kick out because he was like, oh, really not hurt. He kicked out because it was painful and it hurt.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And then basically what ends up happening is Keith Lee is powered up into a feast your eyes actually by Donovan Dijak, and he's able to hit it.
Yeah.
But Keith Lee doesn't fall down after the feast your eyes.
That's right.
And so then what happens is just a really pissed off Keith Lee runs forward into Dijak. He lifts him up for the Power Man. There's not Power Man. I guess so. Power Man Slam is what I'll call it. He hits that.
Spinebuster, like the
Is it a
single hand spinebuster.
He has him like up in like on his shoulders, and he powers him down with a Power Slam. It's a bit weird. It looks like
a Ground Zero.
Sure.
Okay.
I don't know move names.
Okay.
But basically, just no sell after no sell. Keith Lee finally hits his finisher for like a second or third time, puts the match away. 1, 2, 3. Very exciting. Very telling of the time for what independent wrestling was back then with no sell after no sell.
Yeah.
It also harkens back to their first or second match in NXT back in October of last year.
Yeah.
And it got me really excited for this coming Sunday with NXT TakeOver Portland, where we'll see this match again for the North American Championship. And I understand if people don't like the style, but I love it. So, hey.
Big boys.
Yeah. You got any final comments before we head off into the sunset on this episode of Main Stage Wrestling, Tiger?
I just want to tell that there was at one point where Keith Lee kicked out, and then because Dijak was lying on top of him, Dijak fell out of the ring. And that was the greatest spot ever.
Okay. Yes,
right.
indeed. Okay. I'm
right.
sorry. I'm freaked out by the people outside
I
the room.
am too. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I feel like I'm gonna die in a second.
Guys, this was our return episode of Main Stage Wrestling right here on WERW Real College Radio. We will be back next week with more Main Stage. Goodbye, everybody, and thanks for joining us.